the old Shimmer and IOTA dev teams relatively simply fork something out. Edward, I'm even thinking like Infernal Uprising, like fork that as one use case. We could fork a bunch of different apps that essentially were using IOTA at one point and maybe haven't seen any carryover into the move side of things. Give everybody a life raft to say, here you go, you're going to own X percentage of the network to begin with, because it is all DAO owned in the first place. And then we've essentially copy pasted in a perfect world a lot of that builder community. But now the difference is, JD, like you've said, it's not governed by a foundation that may be putting their thumb in the scale one way or another. It'll just be like, hey, people who created a DEX, like that saw 5% of like network activity, that translates directly to 5% of the available like tokens for that first year unlock. So what would that come out to? Like just under 2% of the entire network that like that dev team would get for creating our first DEX. Like you start adding that up, and the game theory works, I think, for a lot of teams where it's like, hey, you know, I already did the work. What's this little extra to push it over the finish line? I'll own a sizable chunk of the network. Sure, it's not worth anything at first, but then we've got that town where people can start going in the storefronts and then disseminating the tokens, et cetera, et cetera.
I like it. Okay. I say we, what's going on here? I'm trying to get back to, one second here. Can we, why don't we make a channel that's just called incentives, and we start working on that, and we can go with that tentative supply. We start breaking down the 4-year period. We start breaking down the 1-year period. We start breaking down the quarters. We tried to, you know, front load the first year to be a little bit more than the last year's. Same goes with the first quarter. And yeah, I think, yeah, we start, I like that idea of VC through involvement, meaning everyone now has an opportunity to get in on this. I mean, this is where the TAN token is. It's basically worthless. And those individuals that get involved have a opportunity. I mean, everyone wants this opportunity as an investor, but this is where a lot of those guys get those tokens, is they get in early, and this is damn as early as it can be. And, you know, I think sometimes we get a little deep in the details and we forget, like, this isn't just a couple people coming from nothing and making something brand new. It's a couple people coming from the Shimmer network, the IOTA community, and we have that whole community there that, again, people want to get involved. They want a they want a token built from the ground floor, totally decentralized by the people. They've just been jaded over the years because, you know, been smashed with their investments, which is totally understandable. So, okay, I like the idea of, you know, what do we need to get off the ground? Again, what do we need to do for the airdrop? So really, because the network's running, so the code's already going, we just need more than one coordinator. We need to fork the wallet and get a bridge, right? Is there anything else that really, infrastructure-wise, we need for the airdrop? And then we need to finalize the question. I mean, we could do that this week and next week, is, do we want to airdrop and have no release schedule, or do we want to do it on a release schedule, which personally I think a release schedule will be better, but we can have that discussion next week. Okay. Yeah, we can maybe try to have short-term priorities next week. We can discuss those as best we can in the group, and, you know, do we want you know, do we want to focus on doing an EVM integration, which I think, you know, and that's something like we could do BSC, but I think branding wise, when it's your own EVM, there's a lot of strength in that, especially since there's a ton of dApps that we can fork and put in right away. Once that EVM is there, there's, you know, anything from the DEXs that we have, A few of those dexes have died on Shimmer, but again, I'm sure we can get those on there. There's some games. Really, there's already a handful of things with community involvement. I think again, there's definitely the ability to some of those teams that have dead DApps, but still have that community. So cool. I like it. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Okay.
Edward, does that kind of address some of the items you were talking about? Like, I know it's a chicken and egg, but because you are one of the gaming guys, wanted to get your thoughts on that initial proposal too.
Um, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. I mean, I mentioned gaming, of course, because I'm the gaming guy, as you say, but I'm only using it as an example. I'm not necessarily advocating specifically. I don't disagree that there's a certain amount of, what's the word, disenfranchisement and disillusionment amongst the community for Shimmer and IOTA, and a new energetic alternative might be what some games need, and some game studios would have. I think they'd respond favorably. Obviously, Sophia, Infernal Uprising is always on my mind because I'm so proud of that game, and I'm heartbroken that it didn't get off the ground
just
because
lost
of the
you.
crash of the Shimmer.
Or maybe I got lost.
Am I not?
Sophia, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
I
JD.
can hear you.
Can you hear us?
You can't hear me?
I can hear you, Edward.
Maybe I lost audio.
Maybe you lost audio, Deep Sea.
Yeah, I think JD might have lost audio.
I think JD lost audio.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Edward.
Yeah. The collapse of the Shimmer token value is what caused an otherwise excellent game to sort of stop in its tracks, and it's happened more than once in my short life with the IOTA networks, which is tragic and super annoying. And so bringing some networks, some games over to a new network that has some promising potential, I think would be good. I think we're still pushing shit uphill with the sentiment. I don't think saying, hey, here's a brand new thing that's existed for 3 months, bring everything over. I don't think that's going to necessarily be enough to entice people. I think the sentiment is very low at the moment. And so we need hopefully more than just, we have a new carbon copy of Shimmer and it's totally awesome and we're not going to give up on you. I don't think that's enough of a message. So might want to work out a proper marketing message. And I would be inclined to also recommend before some of these steps to again have some specific plan for why TAN is going to be worthwhile. Even if it's not worthwhile now, here is our intent, and this is our approximate timeline of when TAN will be usable and in demand, whether it's with a new game coming on the network or something porting over or integrate, whatever it is, new NFTs and so on, but some kind of plan before just making an announcement that we totally exist and we have almost 5 coordinators and you should transfer everything to us.
Yeah, of course. Like we'll I think flesh out all of that on the incentives channel because there's a lot that we can go into here.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I'm just remembering the early days because I know we're all jaded with how Shimmer turned out at the end, but it's kind of interesting. As I remember the opening days of Shimmer, there was tons of excitement in the air, and you know it almost feels like it got completely rug pulled just by the nature of like that tie to IOTA and the centralized aspect. So maybe like, hey, we got a version of that thing you were all excited about, and it's owned by you this time as opposed to, the ones who made us all salty about it last time. Might even be a good enough message. Like,
I think that's definitely a good foundation.
I was thinking about this yesterday. When you say rug pull, like I didn't put that word to it, but I really feel like we were, and just the fact that the IF just said, "Fuck it, we're done with it." You know, like they 100% have the funds and the capability just to have kept it going, but just they were over it, and it just shows the disrespect for
Yeah.
the community developers that were building on it. And it's like it wasn't a money issue for them. It wasn't a time issue or even a resource issue. It was just we don't give a shit about that community. We're doing our own thing. You know, we want to work with these big organizations. We don't care about our community. And I just, I mean, to me,
But I
all
think that
crypto.
even that was, I think, after a catastrophic drop in the value of Shimmer, because whether it wasn't being supported or wasn't being supported enough, I don't know. But my team at Pluck Games was working on Infernal Uprising at the beginning of last year, and the value of Shimmer dropped by 90% in 3 months. And
Yeah.
And
that's what
Edward,
sort of made things fall apart.
just to jump in, I learned this after the fact. It's because insiders found out that was the mentality of we're going to
Oh,
abandon
really?
this thing long before. So then the
Oh,
rest of us
wow.
who thought, okay, we're going to keep going, the value dumped 90% because the guys in the know already knew about the decision. The rest of us just didn't. And then when
And
we
Oh,
found out,
wow.
it went down another 99.
which
Ouch.
is the
Yeah.
definition of a rug pull. You know, so I mean,
Sounds
it's
very
really
rugby,
shitty.
because they didn't announce it at that time. They announced it a year after, or 6 or 8 months later.
It's
That they
what really
announced
sucks.
they're not doing it.
But what really sucks is like I spearheaded and really drove the community to do the marketing when the bridge came out, and we did the whole incentive, and you know we're giving away, and you know rather than having the IF do the marketing, that my big thing was like, hey, let us get involved. You know, I mean, I fought Suzanne and I fought Holger to like, and they finally, and they're like, yeah, let's see if you can do it. You won't be able to do it. You need to contact 100 different, you know, social media posters. But we did it, and we were doing great, and the price was going up, and there was, you know, people were coming into the community, and then Dom went and he did the post right before the incentives were going to be dropped and the campaign was going to kick off after working on it for 2 months, and he said, yeah, Shimmer's going to die. It's, you know, there's no hope. It's worthless, and it's the community's fault. I mean, how
gosh.
it just is mind blowing. I don't know. It's just because crypto's supposed to be up to people. So what I'm saying is that when people see that, hey, there aren't individuals that are going to sabotage. There isn't this organization that we have to depend on that can just rug pull at any time and have insiders, you know, pull the liquidity out, and have organizations and dApps pull the liquidity out that because they have, you know, equity in. And then that's the other thing. Like, I think people realize the IF funds a lot of who they want to fund. So when they say, hey, we want you to be done and just close your dApp down, those individuals do it because the only reason their team is surviving is because they're getting paid from the IF in non-profit tokens, which is basically illegal. But I think you're right. I think this narrative that it's by the people, for the people, you're not going to get rug pull. And once, again, it's also trust, right? Like crypto is all about trust. Just because it's a currency, if you have trust in that currency. So if we can get it off the ground and have 5 coordinators and it's not controlled by a central entity, people are going to start trusting that, and they're going to start trusting that they're not going to get rug pulled. And then I think that eventually comes on an exponential rise of trust, and the more trust, then you're going to have consumers, you know, investors, not investors, but consumer investors, and then the dApps, and then, you know, wow, there's people there. There's people that are going to use my dApps, and then it just takes off. So, yeah, I think we have a great opportunity. And, you know, I don't want to get held up on waiting for this lead position. I was kind of, you know, thought maybe there'd be a little bit more jump on it.